This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to a comics edition of the Animanicast. And welcome once again to the Animanicast. This is the only podcast out there that's dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs. And each week we discuss a different episode. We talk about all the different cultural references and gags that we can find. And, we also talk about Tiny Toon Adventures, Pinky the Brain, and Freakazoid. But today, we're talking about an Animaniacs comic book. Woohoo! I am Joey, and joining me over in California is my brother Nathan.
But you can call me the purple one.
Yes. Okay, purple one. Maybe that will make sense to people if we get around to talking about that part in this comic book we're talking about today. We're talking about issue number 15 of Animaniacs, which has the cover date of July of 1996.
Ooh.
And this comic book is our first opportunity to talk about the side characters, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The second bananas, as they're put in one of the comics. But we don't really feature the Warners in this comic book at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a panel or two, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, more than just two panels, but you know.
I guess, but still.
But Nathan, if you were to describe this comic in just a few words, what would you say?
It's the Animaniacs, because it's all of them.
That's true. Too often we say Animaniacs and we refer to the Warners, but truly, the Animaniacs are all the side people, right? All the side characters.
Otherwise, it would just be called the Warner Brothers.
Exactly.
Which would get confusing.
And Sister Dot.
Yeah, I guess. The Warners, I guess, would be the best.
Yes, the Warners, which would still be confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be like, I don't want to be this. All right, well, the cover. Let's talk about the cover of today's issue. Now, I hate to spoil this for everybody, but at least for me, the cover of this comic was the highlight of the entire issue. Nathan, why don't you describe what's the cover? What's going on it?
Well, we've got Pesto, and he's screaming. His mouth is very big, and he's saying, "You laughing at me? What do you think? I'm funny like a clown? Do I amuse ya?" And spit is flying out of his mouth. His bottom jaw looks a little weird.
I was just about to say his bottom jaw. Now that I look a little closer at this issue, does look a little weird. Now I actually have. Let's hold this up to the microphone here. Listen to that, everybody. That's actually a 23-year-old comic book in my hand right there. Yeah. But you may not be able to get the comic book in your hands. You can. I went to I think it was mycomicshop.com, so you can order these online, and you might find them in some comic book shops as well. But you can also go online and kind of search for some scans. I'm not quite sure that's necessarily legal, but you can do it that way, at least for a preview purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you purchase.
Exactly. Well, anyway, like you were saying, Nathan, the beak of Pesto does look a little weird. His hand or feathered fingers are blocking a lot of it, so I didn't even notice until you said how big his mouth was, and I was like, yeah, his bottom jaw almost looks like a pelican. It's going a little far down.
Yeah.
Well, despite that, I still think this is the best thing of the cover. It's just wonderful colors on it, other than the jaw. But
just keep going back to this jaw.
Exactly. Now I can. That's the only thing I can look at. Okay.
That's the worst part of the comic. I just can't.
Well, if I, but seriously, if actually ever get a chance to meet Chick Venera again in person, I might have this comic book signed by him, because it's just him. It's just, it's just Pesto. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go hunt down Chick Venera and get this signed. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. Turning the page, of course, we have a great, we love superhero movies. Spider-Man, when we're releasing this episode, Spider-Man is out in theaters right now. Far from home. And who could forget the amazing superhero film starring Billy Zane, The Phantom?
What?
A movie that I know was out and I could care less about, and so did a lot of people, apparently. I have no idea if it's good or bad or even watchable, but it was a movie and it was in theaters. And
no one can deny it was a movie.
Yes, and I believe it was a flop, if I'm not mistaken.
Critics agree.
They didn't do a very good job of photoshopping that. I mean, maybe you want your hero, because he's doing this like pose where he's like gonna punch the camera or something like that to show his phantom ring, and he has hairy knuckles. Come on, they could have you could like Photoshop hairy knuckles out of this whatever poster that you're putting up for this. That was the problem.
That's
no
why
one
I
wanted to
didn't do
see.
well.
Yep, no one wanted to see a hairy
Get
knuckle.
your hairy knuckles out of my face, Billy.
Yep. Oh wow. It's the only place he still grows hair, actually, is on his knuckles, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, let's talk about the first comic right here. The first story, I guess it is. This is called A Change of Face.
Hello, genius people. Yakko Warner here. The only show we listen to in the water tower is the Animanicast. I bet you can't guess why. Good night, everybody!
And A Change of Face was written by Dana Curtin and Dan Slott. I think they wrote all the stories in this comic book, actually.
Wow.
I think so. Pencils, Leonardo Batic. Inks were Horatio Otini.
Otini?
I think that's how you say it. I can't even really read. I either need glasses or they just needed to print these letters better, because this is blurry. Letters by Bob Panaha. Sorry, Bob. Colors by Jerome Yunker. Basically, in this story, it's actually only 2 pages long. The Warners are talking about how they go in to get plastic surgery. That's how they look so young after all these years. And so Dot talks about how she's going in to get cuter, and Yakko comes out to say he got a tummy tuck, even though I guess Dot can't really notice. The doctor warns Dot, however, though, that he's worried that she can't get cuter. He says, "Well, Dot, studies show if you get any cuter, you would exceed Norman expectation. Normal human tolerance levels for cuteness." You can say that again. No. Dot says, "You're right. How can you improve on this face?" Well, anyway, Wakko's done, and Wakko comes out dressed as a miniature Michael Jackson, and in fact, other than the little ears poking out of his head, he has Michael Jackson's face and little shoulder pads with the tassels on it and stuff, and it's quite upsetting and weird.
Yeah,
and
I'm not
so
a fan.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, look what you can get free with a nose job." So Yakko and Dot put a bag on his head and say, "It's going to take a while to fix this, so see you next month." And so, in other words, don't expect to see the Warners a lot in this, because they have to fix Wakko's face. So that's your intro right there to that. And Nathan, what did you think about this short little... It's almost like a Sunday comic. It's so short. It's only like 8 to 10 panels, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty short.
Very short. I guess that's good. I don't know.
I did think it was interesting, by the way, when he came out as Michael Jackson. I was thinking this morning, one of Michael Jackson's nicknames was, because people thought he was so crazy, was Wakko Jacko. And, well, there you go. I don't know if they were going off of that when they put Wakko as Michael Jackson, but it was a thing that, the National Enquirer would put up on the stuff. So, Wakko Jacko, right there. Well, Nathan, the next story is a Rita and Runt story, and it is called Mace Ventura, Pet Hunter. And Mace Ventura, Pet Hunter was written by Dave King. Okay, so I take it back. Yeah, I guess those...
You lied. Before.
I lied. I was mistaken. I know that Dana Curtin wrote other stuff, so whatever. Dave King wrote this one, though. Leonardo Batic penciled it. Scott McRae inked it. Agnes Panaha did the letters. And Jerome Juncker was the guy who did all the coloring.
All the pretty colors.
The pretty colors. And, Nathan, tell us what happens here in this Rita and Runt comic.
Well, Rita and Runt are very excited to finally be in a comic. They have a whole couple panels talking about how they've been missing from up to this point, and they're just happy to be back. And they're walking on the street, and there's a car drives by with this very rich woman. And she's just saying how no one understands what it's like to be so incredibly rich. And she notices that, this cat and dog, they seem to be so friendly to each other. It would be so lovely to have them stuffed and put somewhere in her house. So it would just be such a wonderful addition to her collection. So she tries to coerce them into the car, but of course they run away in the other direction. But she knows how to get them. She's going to call Mace Ventura, pet detective or something. Is that right?
No, Mace Ventura, pet hunter.
Hunt hunter. Okay. Because nothing like Ace Ventura. Don't get that confused.
Other than him looking exactly like him. But anyway, go ahead.
Saying some of the catchphrases kind of similar to him. Rita's about to sing a song about how happy she is that they got away when Runt tells her that they can't sing songs because it's a comic book and no one would understand what they're doing. So they decide not to sing a song, and instead a whole bunch of cats and dogs and even Squid flies by them running away from something, and it turns out it's Mace Ventura.
I think one of them is Newt, by the way, from the Minerva. He's just colored wrong.
Oh yeah, he's colored weird though.
Yeah, so it must be a different dog. But it looks like it definitely looks like a Newt-ish dog. Anyway, yeah. So they're running away from
Mace Ventura. Oh boy, he's got them cornered. He's gonna catch the critters. He brings out a giant machete.
it's a Bowie knife, I believe, but it is huge. It's cartoonishly huge.
Yeah. But runs right into him and knocks him over. And they've escaped. Rita says, "You're so brave, Runt." And now Mace Ventura is going to jump on him from a building, and he's still got his sword, his spine slitter sword.
It really is like a disturbingly big knife.
But it's going to spring the trap. Yeah, so he's jumping from 3 stories on top of him, and Runt sees a fire hydrant, so he rushes to go to the bathroom, and Mace just hits the ground, and he's terribly injured, I bet. And so we're going on. Now Mace, after a hugely relieved Runt, Mace shows up in an airplane and starts shooting at him, and well, they're dodging the bullets or whatever. And Rita has an idea how to clip his wings, and it's basically to fly it right into the old lady's car. And both the old lady and Mace survive, but they decide not to hunt Rita and Runt anymore. And
because they crashed into each other somehow. Yeah. That was the weirdest wrap up for this comic book right there. Mm-hmm. Just miraculously, he decided to fly really low and just coincidentally run into, of all cars, his boss's car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody stop me.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say that. He should have, but that's a Mask reference, I guess. So whatever. Although he did say an Ace Ventura line somewhat, right? First of all, he does look exactly like almost like a Mad Magazine version of Jim Carrey, like really exaggerated teeth, an evil smile, almost like if Ace Ventura and Chucky had a kid or something. Like, it's a very weird combination. Looks really twisted and demented and evil. But he says, "Well, alrighty now."
Yeah, instead of alrighty then.
Yeah.
So
It's
and he says a lot of like warmth. I don't know. Like, does Ace Ventura say these like fnurks and things like that?
I don't know. He does say snurk a few times, doesn't he? Snurk.
He says hnurk and fnurk.
It's snurk.
It's snurk. And when he hits the ground, he says krumprunk.
I don't remember. And I've seen the movie a few times.
Right.
I don't remember Jim Carrey's catchphrase "snurk." But maybe I just haven't seen the movie enough. I don't know. By the way, let's just go to the end of this. The Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls is being promoted in this very issue.
Yeah,
it's on pay-per-view right now. So, this is Ace Ventura is very much in the in people's minds. Nathan, what did you think about this Rita and Runt comic?
It was fine. I liked when Runt said the writer couldn't think of lyrics for a song, was why Rita couldn't sing.
Yeah, they mentioned a U2 video, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know what they were talking about. Did you?
No, he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't think the writer of this strip can handle lyrics. Nope, definitely no. No experience except that U2 video when they provided the lyrics." So, I have no idea what he's talking about. I mean, you talking U2 to me? So, I don't know.
Sure.
Well, anyway, that's that. It was nice to see Rita and Runt back, and I did like you were saying, the whole, how she wants to sing, but it's hard to do that in a comic book. I just wish the comic was a little bit better. I did like the fact, however, that they were doing an actual celebrity caricature.
Yeah.
You knew who this was going to be. When they had other opportunities to do so, they didn't. So at least this one time, they did. And it almost looked like there was I know there was an Ace Ventura cartoon show, and it almost looks a little bit like that caricature of Ace Ventura. But I don't know. I was not a big fan of Ace Ventura when it came out because everybody in high school was saying, "Alrighty then," and talking with their butt and all these different things. And it was pretty annoying,
And funny.
Well, it's funny in the movie. It's definitely not funny when your friends keep doing it and they think they're funny because they did something that they saw in a film. Anyway, that's that story. Let's go ahead and move on to another one right here. It was just called Cannoli or Nothing.
Hi, Animanicast podcast. This is Chick Venera as Pesto the Pigeon. That's a mouthful. Why would you do that to someone? Why? Okay, that's it. I'm out of here.
And Cannoli or Nothing is a story written by Dana Curtin and Dan Slott. See, I told you, Nathan. Penciler was Leonardo Batic. Inker Scott McCrae. Letterer Bob Panaha. And colorist was Dave Tanguay. And basically in this story, this is the Goodfeathers. They're back. And it starts off, Pesto, go figure, is about to attack Squit. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed they didn't start off the comic with as far back as I can remember. They didn't do it. It's like what you're supposed to do in a Goodfeathers cartoon, don't you know? But it doesn't. It starts off with, it started out as a regular day at the big city for the Goodfeathers. Bobby, Pesto, and me, Squit. Whatever. Pesto is about to get Squit because Squid apparently called him an inspiration, and Squid thought he said perspiration. So he says, "You think I'm some big, sweaty BO type guy over here? Is that what you're saying?" But before he can attack Squid, the Godpigeon comes by, and the Godpigeon tells them that he wants a cannoli. So they go up to this pigeon building. It's like a full, like usually in the Goodfeathers cartoons, they don't go to a building that is specifically designed for birds. But in this case, it's actually full restaurant with little miniature tables and miniature tablecloths, and even some of the characters are wearing clothes, and already I'm a little off. Like, this doesn't seem like the comic. Strike 2 against you right there. Comic book. Well, anyway, they look into the glass display and they see one last cannoli, but before they can get it, it's taken and delivered to a Frank Sinatra-ish type bird. What's this guy's name?
Frank Pigeonatra. So
creative.
It's pretty good.
Well, they're all starstruck, and they're like, "Oh, geez, hey, you go ahead and enjoy that." And then they just walk out, and Bobby slaps himself on the head and he goes, "Tia Tartufo, the God Pigeon, we forgot all about his cannoli." So on goes that's their setup, and now they gotta figure out how to get the cannoli. They try going in as tourists. They all dress up as tourists. Again, dressing up a little weird for the pigeons, but whatever. The miniature cameras around their neck.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
where did they get these tiny cameras
I
from?
don't know. They go over to him and they're like, "Oh, we can't believe it's, Frank Pigeonati or whatever, Panatra, whatever." And they ask him to sing, so he sings some of his songs like, "Start cooing the news, I'm migrating today, I'll make a brand new mark on it, New York, New York." And they end up singing with him. And
Pluck me a lady tonight.
Pluck me a lady tonight. Yep, that's funny.
Hilarious.
Well, that didn't work because they actually just got so starstruck again that they said, "Oh, we forgot to get the cannoli again." So they decided to go in once again. This part was weird to me because if you're doing Frank Sinatra impression or a Frank Sinatra parody, it doesn't quite make sense, I don't think. Squid dresses up as a girl, and he says, "Frank, darling." And the Frank Pigeonatra, or whatever character, says, "Nancy, you crazy kid, I didn't know you were in town. How's Ronnie?" And then he kisses her hand, and then Squid gets so starstruck that he passes out, and just goes, "Oh, Frankie," and passes out, and Pesto has to take Squid out, and he says, "But Pesto, that's Frankie, baby."
So
now,
is that Nancy Reagan? Is that what?
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for clearing that up for me, because that does make more sense now. Because I thought, when I saw him say Nancy, I thought Nancy Sinatra. And I was like, why would Nancy Sinatra, his daughter, freak out so much about, Frank Sinatra? But now it makes more sense. Yes, and also why she has her hair, or he has this wig on that is somewhat reminiscent of Nancy Reagan's hair. He's wearing a red dress. So
yeah,
thank you.
Why yes, where Ronnie is? How's Ronnie?
Yep. Thank you for explaining that reference.
It's a little. I didn't get it until just now. I was like, I'm sure that's some sort of celebrity of someone that he's dressing up. I don't know.
Yep.
We'll figure it out when we read it.
Nancy Reagan. Well, anyway. Well, what is this? The third time now. Pesto's coming up, and I'm not exactly sure what Pesto's thing was. He was going to be a waiter and maybe sneak the cannoli away.
I think so.
Perhaps. But he goes, "Hey, you waiter." He goes, "You talking to me? You talking to me?" He goes, "Yeah, I need another cappuccino, you kooky kid." Kooky kid, kooky kid. What do you mean by that? Are you saying that I'm a kooky? You're saying that I am a kooky kid? Do I look like a quirky baby goat? Is that what you're saying? She goes, "Yeah." And then Pesto just goes, "Oh, okay." And and then he just kind of leaves like that. And so they finally decide that Bobby's going to go in. Bobby comes in as the cook and just yanks away the cannoli and says that, "Oh, you don't want to eat that cannoli. That cannoli was made and it's not good." Let me just say that the cook backstage, or back in the kitchen, I should say, has an intestinal flu. And yeah, it's pretty bad. So, of course, Frank Sinatra goes, "Oh, get it away from me." Or fake Pigeon Natra, whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they were able to get the cannoli. They put it in a treasure box of some sort.
Yep.
Okay. And they give it to the Godpigeon. The Godpigeon thanks them for it and says he wanted to give the cannoli special for his dear friend who just came into the city, just to eat them. He's a great entertainer, and it's Frank Pigeonatra. And they're all shocked, and so is Frank Pigeonatra, who sees a cannoli inside this box and is scared of it. Even though, why should he be?
Yeah, not all cannolis are bad, Frank.
Well, maybe he had such a bad experience that, it's kind of like if you just went to go eat like a burger and there was a cockroach inside the burger. Mm-hmm. Would you want to eat another burger? Probably not. So maybe that's why. I guess I'll buy the "oh no" reaction from Frank Pigeonatra, but I don't know. That's the end of our Goodfeathers comic. Well, Nathan, any moments in this comic that you thought were of note?
I was hoping they were going to say something like, "Leave the something, take the cannoli." Like a
missed opportunity.
Right?
Not once.
So waiting for it.
Not once.
There's so many times they could have done it.
Now, what do you think about the whole miniature? Were you thrown off with the whole clothes and the miniature restaurant just for pigeons and
no,
stuff?
I don't think about those things.
Yeah. It's just kind of like if they don't
they
do
have
that.
Teeth, so that's weird enough.
No, it's true, but it's like, I don't know. They never had this kind of stuff in a previous cartoon story, so it just seems out of place to me. But
I'm trying to think if Pigeon on the Roof, if they ever had clothes on or anything in that, but probably not.
I don't know. Let us know, folks, if you remember the Goodfeathers wearing any clothes whatsoever. Let us know. But I am saying no. They've never worn clothes on the show.
I'm thinking they probably wore something.
Never. Never. They wore a ring. They wore a plastic ring from a soda can, and that was the only thing they've ever worn.
Yeah. They were dressed as birds in the movie movie Birds.
Okay, they did. So. They did. Okay, I take it back. They were dressed up as seagulls or something, right? Or ravens or something. I don't know. Okay, but other than the costume, they've never worn clothes to like in West Side Pigeons. They had perfect opportunities to wear clothes or something in that, and they never did because they don't naturally wear clothes unless they're on a Hollywood set. There
you go. That's a statement.
Well, those are characters that we have not seen too much, especially Rita and Runt on the comic. I'm sorry, on the cartoon series, especially. Mm-hmm. They just kind of went away. But there's another character that we really didn't see much of that makes her return in this issue, and that's Minerva Mink. Woo! And Minerva Mink is right here with Shopping Beauty. And Shopping Beauty was written by Dana Curtin. Penciler was Neil Sternecki. Inker was Scott McCrae. Letterer was Teresa. It's written in very fancy lettering. Teresa Davidson. And colorist was Joe Mignot. very tiny, very fancy lettering at the bottom of this thing. So, Nathan, tell us what happens here in Shopping Beauty.
All right, well, Minerva's in her house, and she's getting ready to go, and some squirrels are looking outside, like, looking at her through the window, and the male squirrel gets really big bug eyes and gets punched by his wife or whatever. And Minerva's talking about how she was cursed as a child by a witch who said she would be smart and beautiful, and then put a curse on her, and that curse was called instant credit with 5 free months interest-free or
Very
something.
weird amount of interest-free credit. 5 months, not 6 or 12?
Not 6?
No, 5. That is a curse. It's a very weird number.
So she takes her credit card to the mall. Mickey is there and gets thrown into the ceiling.
Or so we think. I mean, they don't show Mickey's face. They just show his...
but
But
you got his shoes, you got his pants. You got his
yeah,
little
we know
tail.
it's Mickey Mouse.
Someone died because they loved her so much.
There's
Way back there.
also a store called UB Eyeworks right there. And UB Eyeworks actually helped design Mickey Mouse and worked with Walt Disney. I don't know
There
if
you go.
know that, Nathan, but yeah, little
And I think
animation joke.
Jeffrey the giraffe, I think, is also there.
Is that who that's supposed to be?
I would think so, right?
I'm not sure there's a giraffe. It must be Jeffrey the giraffe.
Is he
from
gonna wear
Toys R
like a
Us.
tie? Like
No, I don't
Jeffrey?
think so.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm just. And even the Warners are there, and they hop out of a trash can, and they say, "Hey, we've got Prince Albert in a can," which I don't know why you would. Isn't that tobacco, right?
Yeah.
You're just offering a woman tobacco, and then Wakko's like, "Why don't you let him out?" And then that's when Dot hits them both with a mallet, and then they're gone for that.
The weirdest intro for them they say, "Hello, nurse. We have Prince Albert in a can."
Yeah, like
That's what they have to say? Like, that's your
right?
pickup line?
That's the pickup line.
It doesn't work, folks. Don't try that on girls. It really doesn't work. I don't think offering them chewing tobacco or smoking tobacco.
Right?
Oh, whatever.
Whatever. There are lots of cameos in this. Next we have Plucky, and what's the female duck?
Shirley the Loon.
Shirley the Loon. So yeah. And meanwhile she's getting shoes, and she's like, "Oh, where can he be?" And then she hears a voice, "Oh, you called for a prince?" And she looks, and there's a bunch of dogs, and they're all called Prince. One of them's called Kings, and one of them's Rex, which is Latin for king. And one of those dogs is Runt. So I don't know why he's there.
And Huckleberry Hound. He's
yeah.
right there.
So I don't know why
he's proposing. Uncle Huckleberry Hound is
Yeah.
ready to propose to her. And it looks like they might have the dog that's... There's a couple of Looney Tunes dogs there. The one that says, what about Rex? That's king in Latin. I think that's a Looney Tunes dog. He had one or two ones. And then they have the sheepdog.
Like it.
They had the sheepdog on the left-hand side who was like against the wolf once or twice. So, yeah, some more cameos.
Well, she's unimpressed and just walks all over them. And then we find someone that was formerly known as Prince. It's the artist formerly known as Prince, but then changed his name back to Prince eventually. So, but now he's no longer living. So it's, I don't know what to call him.
You're formerly known as... Yeah, you're formerly known as Prince is here, and he kind of looks like Prince, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be Prince, and then he's supposed to zip her up, and then she finds out that his name is actually just a symbol right now, and it's no longer Prince, and that's when he says, "You can call me the purple one." And so hence what I said at the beginning of the thing, so we got there. She drops the card and just walks away from him. And
there's a Prince another Prince song reference in there. Did you see it?
Purple Rain? No, is it the Boysenberry Berets?
Berets instead of raspberry beret. Boysenberry beret. 90% off. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Pretty hilarious. But nothing as hilarious as the next Prince, right?
Oh man! So you want Prince? You got one from England. Prince. What is his name?
Charles.
Charles, with his big ears and a big nose, but his head just catches on fire, and she loses more princes that way. I guess. And then she's ready to check out, and the cashier is very attractive. So she's melting and going all crazy and jumps in his arms and then starts chasing him out the building. And that's the end. And the Warners are chasing after her then too, I think.
Yeah, including that one Yogi Berra, Capybara. What was that guy's name? Cappy the Capybara.
Smarter than the average capybara?
Yeah, something like that. I think that guy's chasing him too. Plucky's has the bag on his head from Shirley, apparently, who hit him with it's from the Anvil outlet, so one can assume that he was hit with something hard. But they all chase her away out the door. Wow. That was a one joke wonder story, wasn't it?
But cameos galore.
Cameos by sometimes real characters and sometimes knockoff characters.
Yeah.
Well, so other than the cameos, was there anything of note that you wanted to say about this last one here?
No, I don't think so.
I will say that Minerva did look a little different. I did like the way she was drawn in this, but she had kind of just a rounder face, I think, right here.
Yeah.
She, it looked different. Nothing better about her design, but it was a different type of design, but it still looked good. Well, let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Well, Nathan, let's get to it. What do you think about issue number 15 of Animaniacs? How many water towers would you give it out of 5?
How about 2.5?
2.5?
Like middle-ish?
That is pretty middle-ish. Why?
It's just it's fine. Nothing upsetting, I guess, but it's just also not very good. So.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 2 just because it wasn't, like you said, there was nothing bad about it necessarily. I was glad to see characters that I hadn't seen for a while, at least in the cartoon series, get a moment to shine. Unfortunately, they didn't really shine. The stories were pretty dim and not good at all, in fact. And so I didn't laugh. There was, like you said, if there's one thing, I guess the cameos were somewhat cute. So I'll give them that. But some of the cameos were just creepy. Like the Ace Ventura knockoff, I was not a fan of. Well, let's go ahead and get to, I guess, some contact information. Nathan, where can people get in contact with you online?
Well, Joey, I'm on Twitter. DjangoFT, that's me.
All right. And as for the Animanicast, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And, hey, Discord. If you're into that new hip thing called Discord, well, then you should join the RetroZap group. You can get a welcome link by going to discord.animanicast.com, and then you can get linked right on over to the RetroZap group. It is honestly one of the most positive places that you'll ever find for talking about pop culture. So whether it's talking about Animaniacs, or talking about comics, or collecting, or music, or movies, or whatever, RetroZap's Discord has you covered, because RetroZap.com just talks about everything pop culture. So whether it's articles that you want to read over there, or tons of different podcasts discussing all sorts of pop culture things, RetroZap has you covered. In fact, hey, subscribe to the RetroZap podcast feed on your favorite podcast player, and you can get every single one of RetroZap's podcasts, including this one, delivered straight to your device for free. Ooh. Infotainment. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.